Good day everyone. First of all, my name is Bscrim from Bscrim 322. And today, together with my groupmates, Mr. Leo Mingulio, Daniel Magbo, and Bagi Marvin, we will going to present our group reporting. And my report is all about Unit 1, which is forgery. What is forgery? Forgery, in criminal law, fraudulently altering a written document or seal with the intent of injuring the interest of another person or of fraudulently obtaining government revenue. It's the act of falsely making or materially altering with intent to defraud and writing, which if genuine might be of legal efficacy or the foundation of legal liability. Sa madaling sabi, ang forgery ay pamimigay ng dokumento, maaaring alteration o pirma ng ibang tao na ginaya. At ang kadalasan ng mga forgers ay talagang sabihin na natin na may talent sa panggagaya ng sulat. O lalong-lalo na yung mga signature. Definition of signature. All definition. The name of any person written with his own hand in a document as a sign of acknowledgement. Yon. Ang old definition ng signature ay yung buong pangalan nating isusulat ng sarili nating kamay. Kasama na doon yung ating acknowledgement na pirma natin yon. Ang new definition naman po ay refers to any design or pattern written by a person in a document as a representation of acknowledgement. Yon. Ito naman ang new definition po ng signature ay yung mga kadalasan makikita natin yung mga bagong pirma. Hindi na buong pangalan, kundi initial na lang. Pero still, signature pa rin yan. Hanggat may acknowledgement nyo ng pumirma at yun talaga yung kanyang specimen, signature pa rin yan. Next is kinds of signature. Conventional or ordinary copybook form. Yun, makikita po natin sa example na yun po ay katulad lang ng mga nakasulat sa libro. Kumbaga yung lettering ay hindi nababago, parang pare-pareho lang. Walang style, sa madaling sabi. Ang ikalawa naman ay highly individual and personalized. Ito naman yung ating yung mga para lang magandang tingin sa mata. Iniiba natin ang style, parang halos hindi na mabasa ng iba. Pero still, pirma pa rin yun. Difference between signature of a subject and extended writing. Yon. Ang extended writing ay yung kahit anong paraan natin ng pagsulat liban sa pagpirma. Ang extended writing ay yung kahit anong sinusulat natin, maaaring kabit-kabit o natural na sulat lang. Pero iba pa rin ang signature. Kaya sinasabi na hindi maaaring maklasify ang signature ng isang tao sa pamamagitan lang ng kanyang extended writing. Dahil ibang-iba talaga yon. Ang next po ay classification of suspect signature. In suspect document, Harrison lists 7 general classification of suspect signature. Ito po yung 7 classification ng signature. Na ito po yung signature na maaring pineke o yung kaduda-dudang signature. First ay forged signature where no attempt has been made to make a copy of the genuine signature of a person purporting to sign the documents. Yung pineke yung isang pirma na pinirma sa isang dokumento para lang sa sariling kapakanan, parang ganyan. Yung halos kapareho pero yung dokumentong yun ay tinututulan ng may-ari. Forged signature of fictitious persons. Forged signatures which closely resemble the genuine signature since they have been produced by a tracing process. Yon. Ang mga signature na kaduda ay yung parang sobrang bakat. Pang-apat po ay forged signatures which resemble the genuine signature written freehand to produce what is known as the stimulant forgery. 5. Genuine signature which have been obtained by trickery. O yung mga kung ano-anong trick para lang makuha yung specimen ng signature. Forged signature which the writers are honestly unwriting to accept as genuine. Genuine signature which have been deliberately written illegibly or in grounds for disclaiming them should they deem it expedient. Next po ay primary sign of forgery. Ito po yung mga sign ng forgery na ang isang dokumento ay may sign ng forgery. First, written at speed which is markedly slower than the genuine signature. Frequent change of the grasp of the pen or pencil. Yun po yung kapal at nipis ay parang yung sa perman, yung kapal at nipis ay parehong nandun, yung parang hindi consistent yung bilis. Blunt line, endings, and beginnings. Yun po yung line sa umpisa at saka sa huli ay hindi magkapareho. Parang pinilit. Poor line quality and wavering of tremor of line. Yung line po ay parang kumukulot. Parang nahihirapan. Retracing and patching. Alam na po natin yan, retracing. Primary sign of forgery. Kasama pa rin po ito. Stop and place wherein writing should be free. Yun, parang may mga tuldok, yung parang mga may tigil na tinatawag. Unnatural pen lift. Uncertainly tremor. Down quality devoid of free normal movement. Hesitation. Ang sunod naman po ay 3 features of forged signature. Ito po yung tatlong features ng peking signature, forged signature. Any forgery will of necessity exhibit a considerable degree of similarity to the general run of genuine signature in the more obvious features of letter design. Some forgeries will resemble at least one genuine signature in almost every detail. No two genuine signature of any length are replicas of each other. Yon. Kahit pa daw po ginalingan ng forgeries, imposible daw na magkapareho pa rin yon. Indication of forgery. Kasama pa rin po ito. Blunt starts and stop. Ito naman po yung sa mismong signature. The forgers place the pen point in contact with the paper and start writing. When he is finished with the name or some portion thereof, he stop the pen and lift it from the surface. Yon. Yung perma po, diga po pag tayo po may perma, parang pinalalampas natin sa dulo. Mapapansin daw po agad natin na forgeries yung perma o pineke kapag yung pinaka kaduluduluhan nun ay parang tumigil, parang binabakat bagay, yung parang biglang tinigil, walang relaxation sa kamay, yung ganun. Sunod po ay indication, yan, pen lift and hesitation. This is occasion when the pen stop at an unusual point in the writing, perhaps where a radical change in direction is about to take place or a new letter formation is about to be started. Yon, yung may mga tigil, yung parang pinutol sa gitna, tinigil yung pagsusulat, parang may yung kaduda-duda dahil may tigil nga tapos may ibang linya. Next naman po ay tremor. Because the creation of most forms of non-genuine signature are little more than drawings, the pen is moving so slowly that small, almost microscopic changes in direction take place in what should be fluid looking line. The resultant line is not smooth but reflects the shaking pen. Yan, ang tremor naman po yung pinakamaliliit na pagkakamali. Parang kala natin totoo na, pero pagka tinignan po natin via microscope, makikita po doon yung pangangatal nung sumulat. Ang sunod po ay speed and pressure. Again, because the pen is moving slowly rather than the dynamic movement associated with most genuine writing, the linked line remains constant in thickness, resulting from some constant pressure overhead on slowly moving pen. There will be little any tapering of internal lines. Yon, nababago daw po yung nakikita yung pagkakamali ng isang signature na finorge sa pamagitan ng yung pagtiningnan yung kanyang speed at saka pressure. Dahil nga po ang pagpo-forge ay mas hindi typical na kasing bilis ng natural na perma. Makikita po natin yung diin at saka yung mga pabigla-biglang pagtigil o yung tinatawag sa epekto ng speed. Next po ay patching. Infrequently but at one time or another, most of us have made an error while writing our own signature. Some individual may leave the signature alone, caring about the mistake or imperfection, while other will simply fix the signature by connecting the offending portion. Yun po ang patching. Indication of genuineness. Habitual speed of writing, fairness of stroke. Ito po yung genuineness ng signature. Yun nga po. Degree of skill, pattern of shading and emphasis, fundamental muscular movement, coordination, continuity, and freedom. Kinds of forgery. Ito po ang mga iba't ibang uri ng forgery. Simple forgery or tinatawag din pong spurious forgery is defined as the fraudulent writing of signature of another in the natural or disguised writing of the forger, the later exerting no effort to effect a resemblance between forgery and the genuine signature of the individual whose signature is being forged. Yon. Ito po yung natural na pang-forge. Ginagaya po yung pero malaki po ang pagkakaiba. Parang ipinirma lang yung pangalan pero hindi naman po yun ang perma ng may-ari. Kaya madali po itong malaman na forgery. Ang next po ay simulated forgery. Freehand drawing in limitation of model signature. There are two basic of simulation. The most common involves the use of actual model document. This model is placed near the document to be forged and the forger copies with pen or pencil his conception of the form of the genuine signature model. In the manner of artist sketch from live model, a studied stimulant from master model signature usually embodies a slow drawing movement, a natural starts and stop lack of rhythm and uncertainty of letter conformation. Ito naman po yung klase ng forgers na katabi mismo yung sample ng specimen o yung document na gagayanin. Kaya makikita po doon yung skills kung paano ang forger ginaya, pero still nandun pa rin po yung pagkakaiba. Kaya malalaman pa rin forgery yan. Trace forgery is the result of an attempt to transfer to fraudulent document an exact facsimile of a genuine writing by a same tracing process. Yan, ito naman po yung tinitrace. Halimbawa, ipapatong po yung document na original, tapos didiinan po yung part ng kanyang i-alterate o kay yung signature para yung bakat po yun na lang po susulatan. Ito po yun, trace forgery. Next po ay cut and paste forgery. It's created when authentic signature are misused by means of photocopiers or computer scanners. Yon, ito naman po yung diga po pagka halimbawa yung isang document tapos ipapa-photocopy. Kaya naman pong i-edit yun dahil yung ikakat mo yung half page tapos ang ititira mo lang ay yung signature. Pero still yung signature ay copy, yun po ay via pa rin, print. Kaya po mas madali pa rin itong mahuli as a forgery. Sunod po ay carbon process. Here the forger placed the document to be forged on the bottom. Interleaves a piece of carbon paper on place on top document containing a genuine signature. Yan, naalala ko po dito yung di ka po pagka po sa STL tatay ha. Di ka po yung para magkaroon ng copy nilalagyan po ng carbon. Di ka pag sumulat ka sa ibabaw dahil doon sa carbon hanggang ilalim meron na yon. Okay, kung ilang carbon yung iyon nilagay, yun po yung sulat na makakopy. Ang sunod po ay indentation process. The document containing authentic signature is placed on top of the document being forged. Yon. Parang yung sa tracing din dahil sa ibabaw siya nilalagay. Ang sunod po ay transmitted light process. The document to be forged is placed on top of the document containing the genuine signature. Yun, via light process. Yung nasa ibabaw, yung original, ika-copy paste o yung kinapi paste naman po yung via light process ay dun po ginagawa ng forgery o may ina-alterate dun o may binabago. Next ay identity of forger. While it's often possible to express and justify a definite opinion as to whether a signature is genuine or forged, it is rare that the identity of a forger can be established. Yon, maaari daw ding sa pamamagitan ng sperma o yung pang-forge ay malalaman din yung identity ng forger. O dahil doon sa kanyang pameke, yung kanyang peking pirma ay makikilala rin siya dahil doon. Una po ay sex of writer. Contrary to common belief, there is no known reliable method of determining the sex of writer from examination of handwriting. Next po ay art forgery. A forged titan, the forging of artworks for financial gain continues to be practiced. Here an Italian policeman holds a fake titan painting, one of the hundreds of paintings, etchings, and statues confiscated from forgery ring that operate in Italy in 1990s. Reuters Vincenzo Pinto archive photos. By the use of a special aluminum such as ultraviolet black light, infrared photography, and X-ray radiographs, inconsistencies and changes in paintings may be detected. The dates when many pigments were introduced, the artist period are also known as if the 18th century pigments. Prussian blue and zinc white appear in painting purported to be an earlier date, then the work is obviously a forgery. Signature are often changed by a forger frequently. The binocular microscope is used to detect the alteration. Radiographs will reveal change made by the original artist as well as those made on an old object by a forger. Pottery from archaeological site is often restored from pieces that do not belong together while filing down edges of similar pieces from second objects. This and plugs of plaster or other materials may show up on the X-ray. Art forgery. Kadugsong pa rin po ito. QDE or Question Document Examination has been profession at least since 1870 and frequently as found in cases of forgery, counterfeiting, mail fraud, kidnapping, con games, embezzlement, gambling, organized crime, white collar crime, art crime, theft, robbery, arson, burglary, homicide, serial murder, psychological profiling, and deviant sex crime. A number of famous cases over the years, some involving wrongful conviction. Dreyfus Affair, Bruno Hampton, and Lenborg kidnapping, the Hitler Diary profiling controversy, and fraud living forgery. However, Hug signatures, and Mormon documents were showcased for the talents of various experts of QDA or Question Document Examination. It is strength from civil law that extent opinion can overloom allied overlist opinion. Ito po yung mga famous na kaso ng forgeries at saka mga forgers po, mga kilala. Akin na lang po nilagay dahil masyado po sila madami. Nandyan po sa ating slide. Ito po yung mga notable forgers. The Romans copied original Greek sculpture and many of the copies have at some time or other themselves been considered originals. Yung pinigay po yung Greek sculpture. Nandyan po yung sa slide natin yung iba't ibang notable na forgers. Kung babasahin po natin yan, masyadong madami, pero naglagay na lang po ako ng ilang pinakamahalaga. Yan po yung mga example ko. At next po ay ang ating Unit 2.
Unit 2. Erasure, alteration, obliteration of documents and addition, interlineation, and substitution in documents. Erasures. The changing of documents by removing certain parts is very common. It is not easy to do with the chemical inks. Some form of solution must be used to remove it. Examination by transmitted or ultraviolet light will usually show signs of much erasures. In the use of mechanical erasure by rubbing the paper is usually thinner. In the place is transmitted light will show it. If there is investigation suspect chemical erasures, he should submit the document to the laboratory. The laboratory has special chemicals and apparatus for detecting. Ang sinasabi po dito, ang erasure ay very common sa ibang document. Kung i-examine at idaraan sa aparato ng laboratorio ay makikita po ang ultraviolet light na nagpapatunay na madaming erasure ang isang dokumento. Erasure, the most common and clumsy form of erasure by abrasion, by which method the surface of the paper itself containing the ink is actually removed. Taking the ink with it. Erasure of this kind are usually perfect apparent when carefully examined but may be so skillfully made as to escape detection on the first view. Ang metodo po ng erasure na ito ay sa pamamagitan po ng paghadhad o pagkuskos ng ink sa isang dokumento. Erasure. One interesting topic in forgery is the race check drop, or other commercial paper which is made to represent a larger sum than when was signed. Genuine documents are sometimes so clearly less drawn that the amount is increased simply by adding words before or after the smaller amount first written and then adding keepers to the amount writer in figures or if necessary changing the amount in figure. Sa madali pong salita, ang sinasabi po dito, forgery ay yung pamimeke po ng isa pong document. Erasure. A fraudulent addition in a word will almost invariably show a different size, line, width, or a general literalness and indicates a different types of writing. Or as stated, an added part may be written with leak and show lack of uniformity with the ink first used. Erasures. Another form of erasure is the use of chemical erasure usually affect the document in such a way of show clearly and it's been tampered with but skillfully made. They are not dissembled by ordinary observation. Alteration. Alteration can be generally seen with the aid of a good magnifying glass and help of special lighting. The forger usually tries to change A to A7 or to add a zero behind the number to increase the value by 10. A check or receipt for $7 could be raised to 70 if sufficient space is left with original document. The forger will also have to change the written 7 to 70 by adding the additional letters to write. The investigation should be careful to be sure that any alteration on a document was not done by the winter himself. Common most errors in the alteration suspects. Number 1. Spelling. 2. Punctuation. 3. Paragraphing. 4. Numbers. 5. Incorrect use of words. 6. Capital. 7. Division of word. 8. Titles. 9. Incorrect abbreviation. 10. Incorrect address. Careful attention should be given to sentence construction, spelling, grammar, idiom, division of words, shading, spacing, system of writing, titles, erasures, use of capital letters. Careful attention should be given to abbreviation, stamping, superscription, symbol written slightly above the letter, proportion of letter, alignment, margin, watermarks, connection, punctuation, underscoring, folding, ink. Alteration in typewritten document. Questions sometimes arise concerning suspected addition to typewritten documents. If uninsured misaligned addition are present, the problem is not difficult. If the addition has been made with great skill, a close examination by means of measuring devices and low-power microscope is necessary. The following procedure will be found practicable. A. Machine. The examiner may determine whether the addition was made by the same machine or the same make and model of typewriter. The success of examination will depend on the amount of typing and the added text. B. Ink density. If the manuscript text was part of the original text, no difference in the density of the link impression should be observed since a similar part of the ribbon was used. The examiner will examine the addition of microscope and compare the inking with that of the acceptable part of the text. C. Alignment. It is difficult to replace a sheet of paper in a typewriter and perfectly align added letters with those previously made. The examiner tests a suspected addition or alignment by means of glass plate. Easily determine whether a given letter is falling in its proper obstacle. Obliteration. Obliteration by ink can be uncovered by the laboratory with infrared photograph and ultraviolet light. Alteration, obliteration, and ink examination. Often the alteration or obliteration may be discovered and deciphered, or an ink differentiation determined by the document examiner. The obvious and discernible evidence of a second writing instrument may well prove that an addition after the fact has taken place. VSC, infrared imaging equipment and infrared photograph have opened the new world of question document examiner also in the spy. Satellite that employs impaired imaging, snooper, scope, and infrared binoculars have been in use for decades. TLC, another highly selective process that may occasionally be employed, is the of-thin layer, or TLC. As it has come to be known, the TLC process is usually used to conjunction with ink comparisons rather than obliteration, and although by nature destructive test, TLC is the most definitive process. Detection and decipherment of obliteration and alteration. These examinations are performed in the order to detect whether a portion of a document has been altered, some portion rendered not readily visible, or some text added. If an alteration identified, then the method is determined and described, and if possible the text is obliterated and deciphered. Incline styria. Yet another method of differentiating between different writing implements, usually limited to ballpoint pens, is by microscopic observation of the stria or lack thereof left in the ink line by imperfection in the ball or housing of the writing pen.
Anonymous writing. The anonymous letter writing poses a peculiar problem to the detective decision. The writer The writer may be the harmless crank, asexual, psychopath, an extortionist, or simply a troublemaker. The last function is the most visible of the type of offender. Anonymous notes and letters. Anonymous notes and letters make for some frustrating cases. The writer will often attempt to his her handwriting and perhaps take special care not to leave latent prints. In many cases, there is no logical suspect. Anonymous notes are seldom random. The writer usually some association with the victim, but often is the victim. Victims are responsible for such notes with sufficient frequency that investigators should consider this possibility from the outset. Types of anonymous letters. Information. Reliable informer. A person may write to the police department to inform them the identity of a criminal. Sometimes that will be a reliable one. Correct information. Correct informants. The writer will usually insist on some imaginary error. and will accuse it of the most heinous crimes, including the one under discussion. Types of anonymous letters. Criminal intent. The writer usually demands a sum of money. Ultimately, the receiver of the letter must accept the punishment which is printed. Kidnapping. The criminal may threaten to kill the captive unless an arranged sum of money is delivered under state condition. Extortion and blackmail. Blackmail is a form of extortion. In committing the crime of extortion, the criminal obtains property from another with this consent induced by the use of force or fear. Types of anonymous letters. The blackmail sent. The blackmail the blackmail sent or costs to be sent for the purpose of extorting money. A letter of writing which three-tenths of the following. A. To accuse a person of crime. B. To do any injury or any person or property. C. Publish or clip at publishing a level. D. To expose or impute a deformity or disgrace. Types of anonymous letters. Malcontent. This is a most common type of anonymous letter writer. In some communities, this action is called drafting a letter. Typically, the writer is associated with a large organization in private injury, industry, or civil service. Cranks. This term covers a wide range of letter writers. Some of them are harmlessly insane and can be ignored. Type of anonymous letters attacking public figures. The writer is either religious or political rank. Obscene letter. The sex divide. Some person derive great satisfaction, usually sexual in nature, from writing obscene or scurrilous letters to a person of the opposite sex.
Unit 4 Standards of Comparison. Handwriting Standards. A standard is simply a noun item to which an unknown item can be compared. Standards are needed in typewriter, printer, photocopy, and other non-handwriting examinations. Handwriting standards are frequently referred to as exemplars. Handwriting standards seems to have a difference between standards and also in handwriting standards. But the important facts to remember about this is the essentially to compare the quality or the specific characters of those said words. A brief history. Before 1880, exemplar writing was not admitted in United States courts, and about the turn of the century, standards for writing comparison were permitted into evidence. Standards, especially introduced for comparison, were not allowed. Finally, the question for admissibility of handwriting standards was addressed by federal statute. Two groups of standard handwriting. First, non-request standards, sometimes referred to as gathered or collected. The second is request standards. Non-request standards are quite simpler writings which were indisputably prepared by the accused when he had no reason to think that they would be used for handwriting comparison. The disadvantage is that it may be difficult to find samples that fit the criteria of repeating the format and context of the question writing. Request standards are those in which the subject is asked to write specific material, usually through dictation. This will be used for express purpose of conducting and handwriting comparison. If we say non-request standards, it talks about samples, which is actually available writings, while request standards, meaning it is the on-the-spot writing. A few cardinal rules in talking dictated non-writings. Do not couch the written on how to make the letter forms. Do not show him/her the questioned writing. Do not show him/her any handwriting or even typewriting and tell him/her to copy it. Do not help the subject with spelling or arrangement. The meaning is, remember that they should create their own letter without the help of anyone. Avoid giving the said question. It is not necessary to show any available writing to copied by the accused. And last is to give freedom to write what he, she, known and not correct those misspelled words. Factors to be considered in the selection of standards. A. Good writing standards should be sufficient to define accurately the identifying habit as well as the kind and extent of variation typically of the writer's handwriting under any specific writing condition. B. If a questioned handwriting was executed under abnormal condition, look for standards preferred under comparable circumstances. C. The style of writing contained in the standard or exemplar should be similar to the style of the questioned writings. D. Consider the instrument used in the preparation of the questioned document.